So hello everyone, welcome again to the NextTS rule course in the class 16, which is creating our first API. And as we were talking about some classes ago, we can create APIs using NextJS because as the static pages and all the browser pages that are rendered in the background in the server side, you can also create APIs because the APIs will be handled in the background at the server side too. Just remember that this video is sponsored by Xteam, one of the most amazing company of the world to find remote jobs with a very different environment and atmosphere that you cannot find anywhere. So today we are going to do your class 16, which is the first. As I said, we have been creating all the UI side of things and all those things in the last classes, and now we finalized the UI, and now we are reaching in the part of creating the APIs. So we are going to create our first API, which and as I said, NextJS has the capability of creating API. So if we were using, like, for example, React, another framework, we will need to have React as a front-end framework, and we will need to have another backend framework for creating the APIs, like, for example, having Node.js as a backend and React as a front-end. But with NextJS, as we are using, we can also deploy NextJS as their serverless functions, and as NextJS runs everything in the server side, we can also create APIs with that. So we basically can have our backend and our front end in the same project, in the same piece of code. For larger projects, this is not so recommended because you end up in a lot of code in your project. But as Next is meant to be used as serverless, when you are using, basically we are creating serverless services, you are basically breaking up a lot of monolithic applications to services. So the logic behind this is to create a lot of different services that has the backend, the front end together, but it is not a big monolith where you're going to have all your services inside that. So great. And the first thing that we need to do, like in the same way that NextJS treats pages inside the pages directory, where you put all the pages and the pages will be automatically fetched by the browser, we just need to create a new folder here called API that NextTS will recognize this, and will treat everything that is inside that folder as an API. So let's create, and everything that is inside API folder, each of the folders will be treated as the URL names of the API. What I mean when I say this, I'm meaning that if we create a folder like call it customers here, we will be able to access, for example, a test API in this endpoint here, HTTP or HTTPS localhost. For the case we are running locally today, localhost 3000, and will be API customers, and then the name of the file that we have created inside customers. So for example, if we create a test, so it will be this endpoint. So first, for doing this, for the sake of simplicity and testing, let's just create a new file inside that folder called test.ts. And the thing here, the API, the guys that are used to Node.js will be, this part will be easier basically because we just need to create the function for the API. And for that case here, what the first thing that I need to do, it is, for example, I need to create a new, I will import two dependencies that I need actually, which is response and request from Express, which is the framework for API from Node, but we are using here as our API in Next.js. But we are using those, we are importing those two guys because we are basically, we are currently using Typescript, so we need to type the things to give types of the things. So we just need to create a function that will be the handler of this endpoint, and then so it will be an asynchronous function because it is an HTTP request. The name will be handler, and then it will be hack. I inserted underscore because we are not going to use the request here. It is just a dummy endpoint. and rest, it will be response from express, and then this will return a promise, which will be the response only. Okay, and then here on the handler body, we don't need to put so much things, like, because this is just a test. So we are going to return a res status 200, which is the most plain HTTP return code, and we are going to do a hello world. This is just our first API, just for the sake of sorry, what is complaining here? Cannot find the name in response. Okay, I typed it. Sorry, you guys. So now the only thing that we need to do here is export default our handler. Okay, everything's okay. We now have the request. So basically, when we hit this endpoint here, this API customers test, hello world will appear to us. So basically the first thing that I will do here will be npm run dev for running this example, and this might take a while, but we can also use this guy here. We can also use, I'm using this Chrome extension, which is called Talent API Tester. It's like Postman, but I like to use here for in the classes and where I'm testing some APIs, because I don't need to open directly Postman, which is another application for testing APIs. So if we go back, we can see that everything is running. And then if we go here and hit this endpoint, like I said, it will retrieve hello world to us. So everything's okay. If we go back again, hello world again. So in this class, as we just have learning how to create a plain API, now we need to create two endpoints that are the purpose of this class. Basically, we need to create the first endpoint that will be for getting the users from our database. Remember that in the last class we connected to the database. And another one will be a post for the post request. It will be for creating a new user and insert this inside the database. So the first thing that we need to do, we need to do is go to our project, and here inside the pages, what we are going to do is I will stop the project here, and we are going to create a new folder, a new file that is called index.ts. Okay, and this will be the function, the handler for dealing with the get request for getting all the customers that we have. So it will be the same that we had in the another body that we created. It will be an async function. We will call this handler too, because all of them are handlers. We are not going to use request this time. As it is get request, we usually don't use request, because only if you want to get some header, to get some request body, but this is more for post request response. Okay, and this will return a promise, but the difference that it will return a promise of response. Okay, and then but now we are going to return basically in the response body, we are going to return the customers that we have queried from our database. So let's just create first a try catch here, because if something goes wrong when you try to fetch this data in the database, we can deliver back to the user an HTTP error code and also message. So okay, first things first, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to first do a const, and I'm going to do a query in my database for querying the data of all the users. So there will be a query result, and the query result will be an iCustomer, will be an array, because we are querying all the data of a collection from MongoDB, and this will be an await. Remember that we have customer model, and we just need to call this function here find. Usually find receives some arguments like for making the query, for like if you want only to find the users that has some specific name, or that has some specific telephone. But as we want to search all of them, we just put an empty object here, which will mean to the MongoDB to query everything that we have in the collection. And then we are going to return this as res status. If everything goes well, it will be a 200 HTTP code, and then send, and then the query result here. Okay, everything's okay here, but if something goes wrong and our try catch captures that exception, it will be returned a res status. It will be server-side error 400 and send error dot message. We could improve this. We need to improve, like in a real world application, we need to improve the error handler of the APIs, but this is as for the sake of just learning. We are just going to do this. And remember that we have a wrapper that we created last class for connecting the MongoDB to our API. Basically, all the handlers that we are going to use that needs the connection or need to do some query or modify some data in the database, we will need to use this this wrapper that we have created. And remember that the function was called this middleware actually that we created last class will be connectDB and then handler. Okay, export default, and then we can test this already. Just remember that you need to have in the end here, you need to have the React mock equals true, because we are not testing without the mock yet. And remember that MongoDB URL, it is the connection string that you got from yours. You like in this is my one, but you probably will have a different one. So remember that in the service, remembering the service guy, in the service folder, if we go here to the folder called service that we created a long time ago, here to fetch, remember that the endpoint for getting and if we create a file under this folder called index, this will be treated as this endpoint here. It will be treated as this API customers, and then just /8, because we are using index. It's like home, the same thing for the UI side of things. So we are going to run, but so just remember to save this. We are going to do npm run dev and now we are going to test this endpoint first, and after we test this endpoint, we are going to the post request. So let's just test here. It might take a while because the application is still coming up. Okay, now everything worked. This is the single. It returned an array of customers, but I only have this single customer here, which is me. But now we can see that it is working fine. And another thing that we can do, if we go here to our application, in our application, we will see that we are basically getting the demo data that we created a lot of classes ago. But now, after we create the two APIs, we will be able to use the other guys. So what we are going to do now, we are going to stop running the project, and then we are going to .env, where all the environment variables are defined, and we are going to basically turn this to false, because we're not going to use the mock anymore. We are going to use the real APIs that we are creating in this class. So okay, and now we are going to run npm run dev again, and we are going to create our endpoint for creating a new user. So we are going to create a new file that will be called create.ts. It will be create.ts. Oh, I lost here. It will be create.ts here. Okay, everything's okay here. And then I will import the same thing here, the response request from the another class, another handler that we have created. And now we are going to create a handler for post, for saving new data to the database. It will be function. I will name this function as create instead of basically handler. And then we are going to receive the request and the rest, which is response. The same thing, and the difference here is that we are going to the promise, the the response will be the same. It will always, because this is a synchronous function, we are always going to return a promise. The difference that if you were using JavaScript, we won't put the type of the thing that this function is returning, because everything we don't have types in JavaScript, and now as TypeScript has types, we need to put this. And now we are going to do, just to start with a try catch, just to check if something goes wrong. If something goes wrong, we are going to be able to send a message to the user. And then here on the try, the first thing that we need to do, as we are doing a post request, but before we just need to recognize if this is a real post request. So I will put rec the request.method, which indicates which kind of HTTP request is this. If it is real or post, we are going to continue doing what we want to do, basically. So okay, and here what we are going to do, the first things first, we need to save before saving the customer in the database, we need to grab the customer from the request body. So what we are going to do here, it will be, we are going to get first name, last name, the telephone, and the credit card from the request body, the rec body. Okay, now we got the data. We should, if it was a real project, what we should have done would be like parsing everything, testing that the request body is validated before saving in the database. So we are going to use customer model, and then a new customer model that we have created, in the last class. And basically here we are going to just pass the new customer that we want to save in the database, which will be first name, this, and just first name that we have received, and then all the attributes that were left that we received in the request body, but now we are passing to persist this in the database. Telephone, and then credit card, which will be credit card too. Now we passed everything. And what we need to do here now is just effectively save into the database. So it will be created customer. We are going to create this constant because we are going to basically use customer model dot save. We are going to save this data into the collection of the MongoDB that we have. And if everything goes well, we are going to have the created customer here, and then we are basically going to respawn that guy back to the server. Status dot send and the created customers. Great, everything is okay here. We are good to go. And then the same thing that we created in another request. We just need to put if this guy is not a post request, what we need to do basically is we can create an else if here. An else clause, and if it is not, we just return with res status of 422 for not found, because this is only implemented for not found, but this is the HTTP code for requisition method not supported. This is not supported for a put, for a delete, or get request, for example, just for creating, just for post request. And then we are going to do return res.status. It will be a server-side error if something goes wrong. Just error.message. Okay, everything's okay here. Why you are complaining? Okay, it's just a matter of the formatting. And then here, the last thing that we need to do, export default. Remember to use our middleware, which is connected to the B. Create this guy here. Everything's good. Now we have effectively, we are not going to use that guy here. Why I import this mistake? Okay, everything's okay. This was compiled successfully, and now we are going to basically test this create endpoint. And now just one thing that we did wrong here that we need to change will be here in the create.ts file for the in the post API. We just need to replace this because we have imported this guy that we are not going to use. It's just this guy, this plain guy here. And then the application is up and running. Remember that I switched React mock count to false because we want to use the APIs that we have created now. And if we go to next, we are going to check if we do a reloading the page, we will see that the network now. Basically, if we go to the network tab here, if you don't know how to open, again, just go to inspect here in the browser, and then we can go to network here. And then if we refresh the page, we can see here that we got a lot of requests, but we also got our here localhost 3000-API-customer. Now we did this directly to our server as an API, and now because we have turned off the mock, so this request will not be intercepted anymore. This will go directly to the NextJS server that is running locally, and then it will respond with the data that we have in the database. In my case, this data. You might have another data in your database, depending on the class that we had in the last class, in the class 15. So now we have this ready, and as we created a post too, we can test here directly in the application. I'm just going to this, okay, and this will be test customer. I will put anything here just to test the API and do a create. And now everything's okay because it created and also sent us to the home page, and also reloaded again, did another query for getting all the new users that has been queried, and now we have all of them in the table. If we go here in the requests, we can see that we did a post request to localhost 3000-API-customers-create, and then our post endpoint and our get endpoint are working perfectly now. If you want, you can test this with Postman and also with Talent API tester or any API tester that you want. So we have created those two endpoints, and everything is good to go. Everything is fine now. Okay. And then in the next class, we are going to keep working our APIs. If you switch here to the class 17, we are going to do more two APIs. Actually, we are going to do in the next class will be the API for querying a single user, and another one for querying delete, for delete method. And then finally in the class 18, we are going to do the last API, which will be the update user API. So just remember that this video is sponsored by the best company of the world to find remote jobs, with a lot of good different environment for all of the, and also compensations related to all the different, like the most different environment, and very good environment to work all around the companies that you might know. So thanks a lot, everyone. This was the class 16. And now see you guys in the next class 17. It was a pleasure to teach and also to learn with you guys, and thanks a lot.